Today we have with us Benjamin. He's a partner at Blocher Partners. Benjamin's forte lies in transdisciplinary design and is particularly dedicated to the transformation of cities, sustainable planning, and thus new building technologies and the holistic life cycle assessment of buildings. Hi, Benjamin. Welcome to the pod. We are sitting in India at this beautiful location in Burley. You work in Germany and a lot of work in India as well. So tell me about your journey and how you started, how the passion for architecture, where does it come from?
Thank you very much for having me here. It's a pleasure, to be honest. It's a pleasure to be in such a beautiful place also. My journey in architecture, so I grew up in a family of architects and designers. So my dad is an architect, my mom is an interior designer. They have been working together ever since I was born. Like the office is older than me. So I always refer to it as my older brother because it was always present. Like when our office was in the same building as where we were living.
Yeah.
So when something.
So you grew up with it.
So I grew up with it. So I knew how to read plans when I was very small. Before I could read letters, books, I could read plans.
Yeah.
So this was like my first getting in touch with it.
That's amazing. And you know, when we talk about architecture and passion-led things,
Yes.
When it's imbibed in you, it's a very different perspective. So, what is your perspective? What is your approach towards design?
So for us in general, what is really important is the cultural context.
Right.
We really try to, especially when we come to India, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we are not this typical international architecture firm that sort of comes to a country and thinks that we do everything the same like we did before when we were working, for example, in Germany.
Yeah.
That's not how we are, because we don't think that this is that then we really give anything back, you know.
True.
So we always refer to ourselves, or when we refer from ourselves, and we always say that we are an international company that is embedded locally.
Right. That's a very good perspective, because you have the sensibility of the local context.
Yes.
That's there, and I think your idea of sustainability also comes from that.
Yes. So sustainability for us is a huge part in our work. We are not ideologics, so we don't think that no building helps the planet. Like we you know, in Germany we have this discussion that we should stop building.
Yeah.
We are not ideologic. We don't think we should stop building, but we think that when we build, we need to contribute.
Right.
And taking the ecological background into account is really important when we talk about sustainability, because sustainability in Europe is something, or Germany especially, is something completely different than sustainability in India.
Absolutely.
The climate is different, ecology is different, the plants are different, everything is different, you know.
So if you had to define sustainability, like for an audience which is more like not from the architecture background, how would you define sustainability?
Most important part about it is that you design something that is long lasting.
That's a very good definition.
Because we have to design so the generations after us are still able to live with what we did.
Yeah.
And
they don't have to build new,
no,
so they're not.
They
like
can transform it, they can use it differently, they can maybe get inspired, you know. I mean, of course they can change pieces, but by getting inspired from it.
True.
And I think this is really important. And then everything else about sustainability, about shading systems and whatever else, you know, comes into your mind.
So all the technical part comes later.
Second.
Yeah,
Yes.
second. True. And this is a very great perspective. I think we were discussing about some shipping yard containers.
Yes.
So if you could give one of the examples where you've used sustainability in India, that would be lovely.
So we did sort of a multi second house or a second home neighborhood. Let's call it like this. We built a second home neighborhood with, I don't know, like plus 100 houses in a new neighborhood. And the building typology that we did was, first of all, always incorporating inside and outside. Always incorporating. We think that, especially when we talk about second homes, we don't want to just
put walls in a space.
Put walls and that's it. We think that here the cities are so dense. So when you are in your holiday house, you need to be able to actually
bring the
enjoy
nature
outside.
in, enjoy the outside.
So this is always part of our design. And in terms of material, we used basically compressed earth as a material. I don't think this is used so much,
Yeah.
But there it was possible. The quality of earth was fine. You could actually do it,
Okay.
and so it's called rammed
So
earth.
did you build the earth bricks, like the rammed earth?
Like, but it's rammed earth. It's walls. You build entire
rammed
walls.
earth walls. Yeah,
Yes.
a lot of that happens in Gujarat,
Yes.
right? Like traditional Gujarat.
Yeah, exactly. So it's traditional. So it's traditional technique with a
Modern
contemporary
twist, yeah.
contemporary design.
Yeah.
And then we used from this ship breaking yard. We used recycled wood. So in
That's
old
amazing.
boats,
Yeah.
huge boats,
Yeah.
they even though you only see steel,
Right.
they have a lot of wood
Lot of
inside.
wood, yeah.
And we used this wood.
So it was completely reclaimed wood used in all.
Completely.
Wow. Okay.
So in Hartmut, our head of the Indian office,
Yeah.
he went there. He had a look. He got in touch with the people. So even though
It's a lot of effort,
Yes.
You think sustainability is just about using a new material which is sustainable, rather do this, right? This
Yes.
is more relevant and you're using existing resources
Yes.
nicely.
and it's not so much, and it's also a bit a step back from this super commercial architecture,
True.
because I mean, of course, commercial architecture for us is also very important.
Yeah.
But still, I think we need to be able to sometimes also go a bit back to the roots,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and then quality can emerge, and in the next
Yeah,
project
yeah.
maybe you do something else, or you can go a step
Yeah, and
further.
there are different ways to incorporate sustainability into each and that, of course, because you worked in Germany, as you mentioned, the definition would be different. You worked in Dubai also, the definition is different. There obviously you have to put a glass door because that's the culture, and then air conditioning is
Yes.
something which is required because of the local context, right? Like it's really hot, you can't live without air
Yes.
conditioning. So how do you come up with different practices, different sustainable practices for different locations that you're working at?
Once again, you have to be there. You have to go there. You have to kind of see what kind of techniques are naturally already there.
Right.
Because of course, if it's about high-rise buildings, it's something else than if it's smaller scale housing, right?
Yeah.
But in general, so this is the first thing. Then we always partner up with really good engineers.
Nice.
We are very lucky in Stuttgart because Stuttgart is one of the best universities
Yes.
for building technology and for building sustainability, etc. So we have very good engineers and engineers that work globally.
Yeah.
So we try
So
to
you're well connected,
Yeah,
and
so we are
you have a
connected.
good resource pool for that.
yeah, and
That's
they are
amazing.
also internationally well established.
Right.
And I think so the combination of being local, of readapting techniques that were there,
That exist already.
Yes.
Yeah.
in combination with our knowledge from
Right.
past projects,
Right.
in combination with very good engineering firms,
Right.
I think this is sort of
That's great. And you studied urban planning,
Yes.
right? How do you think urban planning practices are different in different countries? Because, like even I studied urban planning in India. It is very different from what happens in US and UK. So, what are your learnings from it?
So I studied urban design and architecture.
Right.
I did have sort of more focus on architecture, but I worked for KCLP for 3 years almost.
Okay.
So there we only did urban projects, and
Right.
we worked a lot in Germany, Switzerland, and did some work in China.
Okay.
And when we work in Germany, we work mainly for the government. So
okay.
when it's big scale urban projects,
Right.
very often
Right.
they are governmental projects.
Right.
And if not, then the government is always involved.
Of course, because there are bigger decisions to be made.
Yes,
Yeah.
because they make the law.
Yeah.
So they are always involved.
Right.
And here in India, for at least in our project, it's different.
Right.
When we work here, we mainly work for private clients,
Yeah.
even if they have huge pieces of land.
True.
So for me, this is a very, very big difference.
Yeah.
And that's why also the approach changes completely. Because when you work for a private client, first of all, it's much faster.
Yeah.
Second, they take much faster decisions. Third, they tell you what they want, and you talk and you can collaborate.
Yeah.
They're actually not just your client, they're also your colleague.
Correct.
And this is beautiful because
they're equally invested in the whole
yes, and you enrich each other.
True.
So this is a very big difference for us.
That's a very great point. You know, like this point of view is something I couldn't have. I'm going to move to some more personal questions.
Yes.
How is it working with your dad or with the family? Is there friction? You know, how is the chain of command?
We have the chain of command. He's the boss. No, we have a very good relationship. I must say, but we have always had a good relationship. So I was actually not living in Stuttgart for over 10 years.
Okay.
So I finished school. I started going to university, and then I worked abroad in different locations. And after 10, 11 years, I came back, and I think this was really helpful because when I came back, I could contribute.
Yeah. And you had a global context also.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it was really important for us. First of all, you're right, the global context. And second, when you work together, I think, yes, of course, I still have a lot to learn.
Yeah.
And we work closely together. But also, you need to be able to contribute. And then I think it's actually enriching for both.
Cool. And I got to know that you like collecting sneakers and you're wearing something which is from the 1954 Adidas collection. So,
yes.
What is it? What do you do for passion? In your personal life apart from design?
I'm very sporty.
Yeah.
I'm
You're a
like
football fan.
I'm also a football fan, but I'm like a hobby mountaineer.
Oh wow.
I go mountaineering, it's called. So, I mean, in Europe our mountains are not as high as here.
Yeah. So do you have plans for Mount Everest?
No. This is for me is too crowded. This for me is too crowded.
So you do these smaller mountains across.
For Europe, they are the big European mountains.
Oh yeah.
Yes, so that's what I do every year, a couple of times.
That's great. So you take like a mini vacation and then you go climb mountains. Yes. Of course, you have to train. You probably have to train. Wow. So tell me, what's your favoriteest memory growing up, which kind of probably pushed you towards being a designer?
What pushed me towards being a designer, I think, wasn't one memory. I think it's rather
collection.
The constant confrontation with it. So I very soon saw how the work could be, and what is specific for our case is that we tend to work a lot with privately held companies or clients. Yeah. So we very often have close contact to entrepreneurs.
Right.
And this is specific, at least in German architecture, because a lot of offices, they come almost entirely from competitions.
Right.
And we also do competition, but not so much. So we rather establish good relationships with our clients.
Agree.
And this is
so that's
really
an old
beautiful.
School thought.
Yes, and this is something really beautiful.
Yeah.
Because you are not just working for someone, but maybe you even become friends.
Yes.
And then you have a passion that you share. So this is actually I saw very early in my life, and this is.
So that culture was set by your father, and then it probably translated into you as well. Of course, your parents followed it, and then you took it ahead. But tell me, this world of digital age, like the digital era that we are living in, how do you navigate through that? Like with your old school practices, old school culture, how did you convince your dad to probably make that shift to being digitally present? We were, so I mean, the office is 35 years old, so when they started back then, they were still drawing with pens. Dodging.
Yes, exactly. And they were one of the first offices that actually switched to computers.
Oh wow!
So
and can you give me for the audience what year probably this would be?
I don't know.
Like early 90s, before 90s?
Yes. No, I think early 90s.
Early 90s. Wow. Okay.
So we have always been, technology for us is an aid, it's not defining our work, it's helping our work. So we have always been incorporating it. Now with AI coming up, we are incorporating it. I think I think these times now are very tough actually, because there is too much.
Yeah.
Now there is just a lot of stuff on the market, and every day, every month is something new, and the old stuff suddenly is old.
Yeah.
I mean, who is still using Google?
It's changing so quickly.
Yes.
Because you spoke about AI, tell me how you're integrating AI into your
I mean,
day-to-day
it's for us.
life.
It's so honestly, it's a lot of small steps, and it's
Walk me through like any one of your projects.
honestly, we are. I mean, our practice is super diverse. So
Okay.
we go
Okay.
from urban design, architecture, interior. We do strategy with our clients. So each aspect sort of has a different approach.
Right.
Um,
Right. What is
like-
your favorite thing?
We are not doing this yet. I would like to be able to implement it in the phase that really is, at least in Germany, the biggest chunk, the execution drawings. So I would like to be able to actually, because everybody now is using it for generating images.
Yeah.
And,
yes. That's the most common usage.
And this,
so
of course,
far.
we have been doing this for a longer time, you know.
Yeah.
But generating images is not the key part of the work.
True.
This is helping us a lot,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
by
I mean, you don't have to spend so much time in 3D generated
Yes.
images anymore. Like, you don't have to make it from scratch.
Yeah.
Definitely, yes.
Yes, and it's inspiring and so on, and you can kind of
Mood board it very easily.
yeah. So this is what we have been doing for a longer time, and now we are using it, doing site analysis. We are using it within floor plans. So we have been investigating.
Incorporating it in different.
Yes, and I think in Europe, site management is going to change significantly.
Yeah.
I think that generating of execution drawings is going to change, but it's going to take time because nobody has ever been able to do it differently than how we are doing it yet. So it's probably going to change.
Taking from that, I just want to wrap up this conversation. It's been super interesting. I want you to leave the audience with one advice that you can give to scale up their businesses. Talking about designers being entrepreneurs, it's designpreneurs now. How can they scale up their business?
Build meaningful relationships.
That's a great. I think I should end it here. This is such a beautiful line, and what a great perspective. Thank you so much, Benjamin, for doing this. And I would love to have you in Dubai very soon. The Dubai office is calling you.
Thank you very much for having me here. It was a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to meet you in Dubai.
Subscribe now and join us on this beautiful journey.